If you saw my previous video on queues or generic queues, this is more or less a clone of that. In some ways it's identical, in some ways it's the exact opposite. Basically, the generic queue and the generic stack are both organizational structures. They're sort of like the list with an implied organization going along with it. As I said in the previous video, the queue is a FIFO organization where it's first in, first out, like people in line at a movie. The first guy that got in line is the first one to get into the theater. And LIFO is last in, last out, which is the stack organization. And it's like a stack of plates where you stack the plates up, and then the first plate you take off is the last plate you put on. So the last in is the first out with a stack. And the methods we're going to look at are more or less the same as the ones for the queue. A push pushes things onto the stack, and this is like an in queue, which puts things into the queue. A pop takes things off the stack, which is like a dequeue that takes things out of the queue. And then peek is identical. It's basically a non-destructive look at the top of the stack. And count also is identical in that it shows the count of the number of items that are currently on the stack. So if we look at the code for this, it's essentially the same. We define the generic stack as for strings. So it's stack angle bracket string angle bracket S1 equals new stack angle bracket string angle bracket, and then quotes for the call to the constructor. And then once again we have a string with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 separated by slashes, which we turn into an array by using the string split method, with the slash as the delimiter to define which array members they are. And in this case we go through the array for the length of the array and push each array member in turn onto the stack. But instead of 1 being the first, 6 is going to be the first because it'll be at the top of the stack, and then 5 will be the second, and so on. And then the rest of this is identical to the queue code. We basically go through and start appending information into our multi-line text box, and we show the count on the stack, and then we list the members of the stack, and then we do a pop to take an item off the stack. Up here we have string popped item, and then s.pop, and that will take the 6 off the top of the stack and put it into this variable and take it out of the stack. So the stack will now have 5 items, with the top one being 5. And then we do the same thing with a non-destructive peek, which will peek at the top of the stack, which will be the 5, and we get the peeked item. But the stack will still have 5 items because the peek is non-destructive. It doesn't take off the stack, it just looks at what's there. So if we compile and run this, we see essentially the same results, except everything's reversed. It's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we do a pop, and the popped item is the 6. And if we relook at the stack, it's now only got 5 items, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If we do a peek, it acts like a pop, but it doesn't take the item off. It gets the 5 into the variable, but we still have 5 items of 5 through 1 in the stack reverse order. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot. I'm actually going to be using a stack in the next 2 videos for a very important function. So you'll see the usefulness of having an organization like this. It greatly simplifies the code, and I'll also show you a simpler way of initializing. So far we've been doing in queues and pushes to put things on the stack and going through in a loop, but you can actually do it all at once if you have an array by just passing it to a constructor, as we'll see in 2 videos from now, where I'm going to build cascading list boxes based on a recursive traveling through of a directory structure. So it's going to be a very practical demonstration of how the stack can be used. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot, and I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe.